The Chinese Communist Party is further working to suppress internet freedom. This time, its celebrities taking the heat. A self-appointed Chinese sociologist suggested that China's supposed 4,000 virus deaths are so few that they don't really matter. His statement drew criticism online. The CCP is set to export its vaccines to other countries, but in its own country, a survey reveals only a few people have confidence in their safety. For the first time, malicious codes were discovered in equipment received by South Korea's military. The equipment was made by a Chinese firm and could deliver military secrets to China. And China is defaming Australia with a fake photoshopped picture posted by a top official on Twitter. But instead of apologizing, China is telling Australia it should apologize to the world. Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. The Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, is ramping up its crackdown on celebrities, indicating a tighter clampdown on internet activities. China's National Radio and Television Administration recently announced a ban on webcasts and live streaming. The notice urges people to take effective measures and not to provide public appearance and voice opportunities for unethical celebrities who violate the law. A social media channel under state-run newspaper People's Daily issued an article last week further explaining the ban. It states that in 2014, China's National Radio and Television Administration outlawed certain content from movies, TV shows, online dramas, and short films. Under the ban, celebrities involved in drug abuse or prostitution were banned from appearing on screen. As a result, some celebrities disappeared from the public eye for a period of time. But now, some of them have been spotted during live broadcasts and charity live streams, sparking opportunity for them to make a comeback. The People's Daily article specifically named 5 movie stars and singers, including actress Fan Bingbing. She's best known for her role as Blink in the Hollywood movie X-Men: Days of Future Past. She was listed as the highest-paid celebrity in the Forbes China Celebrity 100 list 4 years in a row, from 2013 to 2017. She was secretly detained by authorities in 2018 when she disappeared from the public eye for nearly 3 months. Authorities ordered her and her companies to pay about $130 million in taxes and penalties in order to avoid criminal prosecution. The other 4 celebrities mentioned in the article were drug abusers or involved in prostitution. Fan is currently active online via major social media platforms. In one instance, she appeared during a live stream with another known internet personality. The broadcast brought in $1.5 million in sales in mere minutes. Although Fan already paid a large sum in taxes and other penalties, the article still emphasized that those who break the law and lose morals will have to pay the price. Fan's video platform has not been updated since the article was published. Netizens have guessed that Fan is either laying low for now or plans to completely exit the entertainment industry. The article triggered heated discussion online. One netizen questioned why celebrities aren't allowed to restart their careers after they faced punishment and atoned for their behavior. He pointed out that even high-ranking CCP officials who were punished because of China's poisoned milk powder scandal were once again promoted after a few years. Another netizen called it a signal that the regime is further working to suppress internet freedom. Still another said it's a price these celebrities pay for having worked with the CCP in the past. A self-proclaimed sociologist in China sparked public backlash over what some are calling his inhumane comments about CCP virus victims. After a newspaper criticized his remarks, he doubled down on his stance. That's until a realization suddenly changed his tune.
Self-appointed Chinese sociologist Li Yi is facing strong disapproval. That's following aggressive comments he made regarding the CCP virus and its death toll. It all started back in October during a speech Li made during a public forum. During his remarks, he cited China's official casualty figures, which are largely believed to be severely underreported. While laughing, he said only 4,000 people died from the virus in China, and that compared with the 220,000 deaths in the US, 4,000 is equal to no deaths at all, right? The statement quickly went viral, drawing overwhelmingly negative replies, many of which criticize him for what's been called his inhuman comment. Not long after, Chinese newspaper The Beijing News condemned him in a commentary for his lack of respect for human life. The article describes him as being flippant about the subject. But instead of apologizing, Li fought back against the criticism in his videos.
太胆大了！你以为你是谁？你以为这是谁土地？你以为新中国是你家的？
In one case, he pointed at the camera and threatened the newspaper, telling it to behave.
这还有党，还有政府，还有军队。你以为你是谁？放老实一点，我告诉你，《新京报》。
And in another, he proclaimed that China belongs to the CCP, not the media.
这毛泽东共产党打出来的天下，不是你《新京报》的天下。
Li's threats prompted even more resentment and anger among Chinese netizens. But in a surprise move, he announced last Thursday on social media that he has set up a relationship with Beijing News, describing it as close as the ties between a husband and wife, and adding he hoped the unpleasantness would end soon. Wang Aizhong, a dissident from South China, says it's not surprising to see this sort of behavior in today's China. Wang said that in an interview with Radio Free Asia, a nonprofit international broadcasting network. Wang explains that the Chinese regime cultivates that behavior by praising those who justify its actions. This encourages those people to become arrogant in response to criticism. Wang says it's the preference of the authorities of those people that encourages the social climate. But the contrast between this unbridled accusations before and his sudden flattery towards the media after haven't gone unnoticed. Some people suspect Li didn't realize at first that Chinese media outlets are controlled by the regime. Li is known to support the prospect of China taking over Taiwan by force. He was driven out of Taiwan last year. In the process, he was found to be a U.S. green card carrier. He also received his doctorate degree in sociology from a U.S. university. Reporting by Xu Wenhui, NTD News.
The Chinese Communist Party has said it is willing to provide vaccines to other countries. But a local survey suggests many Chinese people would refuse the made-in-China vaccines.
People familiar with the matter told us Shanghai officials recently issued an emergency notice that municipal hospitals should survey staff from fever clinics and virus-related laboratory to find out if they are willing to be vaccinated against the CCP virus. The notice stated the new vaccine has not yet been marketed. It also emphasized that the survey should be handled confidentially. The survey ended last Wednesday. Its result shows among 300 employees in Shanghai Yangpu Hospital of Traditional Chinese Medicine, 20 were willing to be vaccinated, making up only 10%. The emergency notice was also aimed at some companies in Shanghai. In a 100-person real estate company, only 3 people were willing to be vaccinated. And there were only 4 people among the 80 employees at the branch of a well-known supermarket who were willing to be vaccinated. Mr. Li from Shanghai said he wouldn't accept a made-in-China vaccine due to his lack of confidence in the quality and because it was developed in a short amount of time.
As you know, vaccines produced by the Communist Party cannot reach the standard. I am worried about quality for sure. The Communist Party is too good at counterfeiting.
He believes that political factors are involved in vaccines from China.
China wants to dominate the world. It wants to develop a dominant position in Asia, so there is a political factor involved in its vaccines. The CCP wants to provide the developing country with vaccines, and it promotes its vaccines as good. But in reality, there are questions about the quality of Chinese vaccines, whether from the World Health Organization or European countries.
Mr. He also has concerns about fake vaccines.
There are too many fake things. Even when something real emerges, no one believes it, because of the decline in credibility.
He said bad experiences with other vaccines from the past has left doubt in people's minds.
Also, there have been a lot of problems with previous epidemics, and people have been burdened by the fact that the vaccines that have been in trouble before have been subjected to so-called validation and procedures.
He said many people are waiting for other people to be vaccinated to see the results first. Reporting by Yiru, NTD News.
President Trump is once again turning up the heat on China. Reuters sources say he's set to add at least 2 more major Chinese companies to a blacklist of firms allegedly owned or controlled by the Chinese military.
Reuters reports the Trump administration will blacklist China's top chip maker SMIC and its largest offshore oil and gas producer SNOOC. The blacklist includes companies that are allegedly tied to the Chinese military. The Trump administration views SNOOC's deep-sea drilling in the South China Sea as a military operation. The blacklist means they will have little access to U.S. investors and will be restricted from buying a range of U.S. goods and technology. It's not known when these companies will be added to the Federal Register. Earlier in November, the White House published an executive order prohibiting U.S. investors from buying securities of companies it has blacklisted. The ban starts this time next year. It's all part of a broader effort by Washington to target what it sees as Beijing's efforts to use emerging tech for military purposes. Shares in SNOOC fell by almost 14% after the report. The company says it hasn't received any formal notice from U.S. authorities. Chip maker SMIC issued a statement saying it only makes products for civilian or commercial use. Its shares dropped by nearly 3% on Monday. Congress and the administration have sought increasingly to curb Chinese companies that don't comply with American rules from accessing the U.S. market.
British telecommunications firms must not install new Huawei 5G kit after September 2021, the government said on Monday. The ban is part of a plan to purge the Chinese firm's equipment from high-speed mobile networks.
The UK will ban the installation of new 5G gear from Huawei starting in September 2021. Britain regards the Chinese firm as a security risk, following the lead of intelligence allies like the United States. Britain's latest move is part of a plan to purge Huawei equipment from high-speed mobile networks. It's already banned telecoms from buying Huawei 5G kit after the end of the year, and ordered all Huawei equipment to be removed from its 5G network by the end of 2027. But Monday's announcement came as a surprise for the industry, according to media reports. Earlier this year, the government was actually encouraging telecoms to stock up on Huawei gear. Telecoms need spare parts to maintain and update networks, and there were fears that U.S. sanctions on the Chinese company could disrupt supply lines. With the new ban, some stockpiles may prove useless after the September 2021 deadline. Britain has also announced a new strategy to diversify the 5G supply chain, including a £250 million investment. So far, no response from Huawei on the new ban.
Now we turn to South Korea. A lawmaker, Hai Tae-kwon, quoted the country's defense ministry last week about malicious codes found in surveillance equipment delivered by a Chinese company. This, according to South Korean newspaper Chosun Ilbo. The over 200 surveillance cameras were supposed to be used for military purposes in South Korea. When set up, they could potentially send military secrets to China. Fortunately, the South Korean military discovered it before it's too late. According to Hai Tae-kwon, this is the first time that malicious codes have been discovered from surveillance equipment of the South Korean military. The South Korean military confirmed the Chinese company could freely change the storage path of images captured by the equipment and store them somewhere else. The remote control network function of the equipment was also turned on, meaning outside actors could interfere with surveillance. Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden released the names of his transition review team in early November. Several of his State Department picks are documented consultants to the Chinese Communist Party.
Joe Biden's transition review team includes several lobbyists and consultants from Albright Stonebridge Group, or ASG. The consulting firm has links to the Chinese regime and employs former Chinese officials. 3 of Biden's State Department transition review team come from ASG, including team leader Linda Thomas Greenfield. Her profile said she led the firm's Africa practice. It was taken down sometime after Biden named her part of his team. Biden also picked her to be U.S. ambassador to the UN. During the Obama administration, she was the top diplomat overseeing African affairs. President Trump fired her shortly after he took office. 2 other ASG members on Biden's State Department team are Sumona Guha and Roberta Jacobson. And Biden chose ASG member Elizabeth Littlefield to lead his International Development Transition Team. The group includes the U.S. Agency for International Development and the related Finance Corporation. ASG is Madeleine Albright's consulting firm. She was Secretary of State under Bill Clinton, and she currently chairs the company. According to ASG's website, the firm's largest single country practice is in China. One of ASG's China team leaders is Jin Ligang. He's a Chinese Communist Party member and former senior Chinese government official. Other ASG members who have worked for the Chinese regime include Dai Yunlo, Jia Mingru, Mu Lan, and Harry Hu. The National Pulse first reported the news that Biden tapped ASG members for his transition review team.
Twitter has become the newest battlefield between China and Australia. In an effort to defame the country, Beijing recently posted a faked photo of an Australian soldier poised to kill a child. But now China's asking Australia to apologize. For more on the story, here's NTD's Don Ma.
China's spokesperson for Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Zhao Lijian, on Sunday posted a photoshopped image on Twitter. The fake photo depicted an Australian soldier preparing to cut the throat of an Afghan child holding a lamb with a bloody knife. The picture was posted on the Chinese regime's official Twitter account. The post comes in light of a recent report accusing Australian soldiers of killing civilians during the war in Afghanistan 4 to 15 years ago. The Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison quickly called a press conference to denounce the post. He called the post repugnant and offensive.
A post made on an official Chinese government Twitter account, posted by the Deputy Director General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Lijian Zhao, is truly repugnant. It is deeply offensive to every Australian.
He added that the post cannot be justified for any reason.
It is utterly outrageous, and it cannot be justified on any basis whatsoever. The Chinese government should be totally ashamed of this post. It diminishes them in the world's eyes.
Morrison is demanding that China apologize and asking Twitter to take down the photo immediately. At the time of recording, the falsified photo has yet to be removed from the platform. And China officially refused Australia's call for an apology. Instead, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Hua Chuiying recommended that Australia apologize to the world for killing civilians in the Afghan war. But this isn't the first time China has used doctored photos to defame another country. Earlier this year, during the height of the Black Lives Matter protests in the US, a fake image showing Americans begging for China's help surfaced on Facebook, Twitter, and Chinese social media platform Weibo. The photo's caption on Weibo read the slogan of US protesters, "China, help us breathe. Help us, China." That falsified picture was not officially released by Beijing, but under China's totalitarian regime, with its strict censorship, the photo could not have been published without a green light from the CCP.
And in other China-Australia news, China's Ministry of Commerce imposed tariffs of up to more than 200% on Australian wine exports on Saturday. Beijing claims to have evidence of Australian wine dumping, which it says has allegedly caused actual damage to its local market. Dumping occurs when a country exports a product at a lower price than the normal market rate, something often considered an unfair trade practice. In an ABC interview over the weekend, Australian Federal Trade Minister Simon Birmingham is calling on the CCP to speak plainly and clearly about what it is that is driving this consistent trend of actions that are disrupting Australia's trade. He added, these types of actions don't just hurt Australian businesses, they hurt their Chinese counterparts as well. They undermine confidence in the global economy, and that's not good for the world's recovery from COVID. Australian Cabinet Minister Dan Tehan expressed similar concerns following the tariff increase. He addressed Beijing's pattern of behavior and said wine exports will now become part of ongoing dialogue with Beijing. A document was leaked to Australian media last week. It listed the CCP's grievances with Australia, from its ban on Chinese telecom giant Huawei to its call for an independent investigation into the origins of the virus outbreak in Wuhan. The Australian government placed a ban on Huawei's involvement in the country's 5G infrastructure in 2017. Since then, the CCP has constantly raised trade issues related to Australia's products. They are believed to be coercive economic measures aimed at pressuring Australia. Now we turn to NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, a military alliance between 30 European and North American countries. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg on Monday said China's rise could present an important opportunity for our economies, but posed important challenges to our security.
China is investing massively in new weapons. It is coming closer to us from the Arctic to Africa, and by investing in our infrastructure.
Stoltenberg said China is not NATO's adversary, but the authors of a report called NATO 2030 calls on allies to think harder about how to handle China's military rise.
China does not share our values. It does not respect fundamental human rights and tries to intimidate other countries. We must address this together, both as NATO allies and as a community of like-minded countries.
The report is set to be published on Tuesday. It contains about 140 proposals on reforming the Atlantic Alliance. And that's all for today's China in Focus. Thanks for watching and see you tomorrow.